Right now, millions of adults over 60 are waking up, walking straight into their kitchens, and making a critical mistake that sends their blood pressure skyrocketing before they even get dressed. It is a daily morning ritual you probably performed today, without a second thought. But here is the terrifying reality that most people never hear. Research shows that the hours between 7 and 11 in the morning are the absolute most dangerous time for your heart. And doing this one incredibly common thing the moment you wake up could be putting your cardiovascular system under massive, unnecessary stress. Before we reveal exactly what this habit is and how to effortlessly fix it, do me a quick favor and comment the number 1 below if you want to learn how to protect your aging heart naturally. We read every single comment. The American Heart Association has confirmed that during these early morning hours, your blood pressure naturally surges, your stress hormones spike, and your blood actually becomes significantly thicker. For aging blood vessels that have lost their youthful flexibility, this morning danger zone is highly critical. Yet, almost everyone over 60 adds fuel to this morning fire by reaching for that first cup of coffee before drinking a single drop of water. Let us be absolutely clear. The coffee itself is not the enemy here. Moderate coffee consumption has actually been associated with certain health benefits in numerous studies. The hidden danger lies entirely in the timing and what that dark roast does to your aging arteries. Think about what happens overnight. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep, your body wakes up in a mildly dehydrated state. Because you have not taken in any fluids for an extended period, your overall blood volume has decreased. This means your blood is naturally thicker, stickier, and more viscous than at any other point during the day. When you introduce a strong stimulant like caffeine into this already stressed and dehydrated system, the physiological reaction is harsh and immediate. The caffeine instantly activates your sympathetic nervous system. It forces your resting heart rate to increase and causes your blood vessels to constrict rapidly, driving your morning blood pressure straight up. Scientific reviews studying cardiovascular patterns explain that caffeine increases the release of specific stress chemicals that promote this rapid vessel tightening. Now, layer this caffeine-driven vascular constriction onto a body that is already dehydrated, while simultaneously experiencing the natural morning surge of cortisol. This combination creates immense vascular resistance. Research shows that caffeine can temporarily increase arterial stiffness. This is profoundly concerning for adults over 60, whose blood vessels have already lost significant elasticity over the decades. You are essentially forcing a thick, dehydrated fluid through tight, stiff pipe, exactly when your heart is already under its highest daily strain. The simple fix is not to force yourself to quit your beloved coffee. You do not have to give up the things you love. The solution is simply giving your body the vital hydration it desperately needs first. You must drink a full glass of room temperature water the moment you open your eyes, and then wait at least 20 to 30 minutes before reaching for that morning cup of joe. This small, completely free lifestyle change allows your body to begin rehydrating, restores your normal blood volume, and gives your cardiovascular system the essential time it needs to adjust to waking life. Think of it as letting your car engine warm up properly on a freezing cold morning before hitting the highway at full speed. But morning hydration and coffee timing only represent one piece of the complex morning puzzle. The habit we need to discuss next affects something even more fundamental to your overall heart health. We are moving to a behavior that completely surprises most people, because it actually seems like a very relaxing and healthy thing to do. Many older adults believe they are doing their tired bodies a massive favor by doing this, but the latest medical data tells a much darker and more concerning story. At number 2 on our critical list, we find a deeply ingrained habit: oversleeping, or maintaining highly irregular sleep patterns. While practically every adult understands that not getting enough sleep is harmful to their health, very few realize that getting too much sleep may be just as dangerous for an aging cardiovascular system. It sounds completely counterintuitive. You might logically think that resting longer in bed gives your heart more time to recover from the stresses of daily life. However, a major review published in the Journal of the American Heart Association looked at data from over 3 million participants and uncovered a shocking reality that turns this assumption upside down. Researchers discovered that adults who regularly slept more than 8 hours per night faced a significantly increased risk of cardiovascular mortality. The risk climbed progressively the longer people stayed in bed. Let us look at the exact numbers because they are truly eye-opening. Those sleeping 9 hours showed a 14% increase in cardiovascular risk. Those sleeping 10 hours showed a 30% increase. And adults sleeping 11 hours demonstrated a staggering 47% higher risk of dying from any cause compared to those who maintained a strict 7 to 8 hours of sleep. The National Institutes of Health also funded a comprehensive study examining nearly 2,000 men and women between the ages of 45 and 84. Their findings were equally striking and highlight the danger of inconsistency. They found that participants with the most irregular sleep patterns, meaning the times they went to bed and the times they woke up varied widely from day to day, had more than double the risk of experiencing a major cardiovascular event over the follow-up period. This remained true even after adjusting for other factors. Let us look at exactly why this biological reaction happens as we grow older. We know that aging naturally disrupts your internal circadian rhythms. Your body simply produces less melatonin, which is the sleep hormone, meaning your sleep naturally becomes lighter and much more fragmented. To compensate for feeling groggy or tired, many older adults start spending excessive hours lounging in bed, hoping to catch up on missed rest. But this strategy completely backfires. Spending too much time in bed without actually sleeping creates those highly irregular patterns that directly confuse your internal biological clock. Your cardiovascular system relies heavily on this internal clock to properly regulate your blood pressure, your resting heart rate, and your morning hormone release. When you wake up at completely different times every day, your heart does not know when to expect that natural morning surge of stress chemicals. The American Heart Association has made it very clear in their scientific statements that sleep health involves much more than just the total hours you spend with your eyes closed. Timing, regularity, and overall sleep quality all play a massive role in whether your heart is protected or strained. Adults who maintain strict, consistent sleep and wake times show drastically lower risks of cardiovascular death in large-scale studies. The practical solution here is highly effective, but requires a bit of daily discipline. Medical professionals strongly recommend aiming for a sweet spot of exactly 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. More importantly, you must keep your bedtime and your wake time absolutely consistent every single day. Yes, even on weekends and holidays. You need to avoid spending excessive time lying in bed if you are not actually sleeping, because this habit fragments your sleep architecture and disrupts the vital circadian patterns your aging heart completely depends on to stay healthy. Before we move on to the next hidden morning danger, I am very curious about your daily routine. Tell me in the comments below what time you usually wake up every morning, and whether you keep that time exactly the same on weekends. Sharing your routine helps build our community, and might just inspire someone else to build a healthier morning schedule. Now, as we continue our countdown, we are approaching a morning habit that carries well-documented cardiovascular risks, yet millions still practice it the moment their feet hit the floor. Now, as we continue our countdown, we are approaching a morning habit that carries well-documented cardiovascular risks, yet millions still practice it the moment their feet hit the floor. Picture a typical morning routine for many older adults. You wake up, step into the bathroom, and perhaps take a warm, relaxing morning shower to loosen up those stiff joints and get your circulation flowing naturally. A proper morning wash is actually an excellent way to gently wake up an aging cardiovascular system, as the warm water helps to gradually dilate blood vessels. and naturally ease the transition from sleep. But the extreme danger happens immediately after stepping out of that bathroom. Far too many adults follow up that relaxing routine by reaching for a specific item that instantly undoes all that physical relaxation and throws their heart into absolute chaos. We are talking about lighting up that very first cigarette of the day. Within the first few hours of waking, we all know that smoking is harmful. You have heard it a million times from every medical professional you have ever spoken to. But what we need to deeply understand right now is not just the act of smoking itself, but the highly critical timing of that very first morning cigarette. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention states clearly that the chemicals inhaled from smoking cause direct, severe damage to the heart and blood vessels, making the hardening and narrowing of your arteries much more likely. However, the medical community considers smoking during these early morning hours to be a uniquely hazardous situation for an aging heart. Let us look closely at the precise biology of what is happening inside your arteries during those first few hours of the day. As we discussed earlier, your body is already experiencing a massive, natural surge in stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, simply from the biological act of waking up. Your blood platelets are naturally stickier, and your blood volume is significantly thicker due to overnight dehydration. When you introduce nicotine into this highly vulnerable, already stressed biological system, it acts as a very powerful stimulant. According to extensive national research, nicotine forces the release of even more stress chemicals that violently increase your resting heart rate and force your aging blood vessels to clamp down and constrict. You are essentially doubling down on every single risk factor your aging body is already struggling to manage during the morning danger window. A comprehensive systematic review focusing specifically on older adults found that current smokers in this age group have exactly double the cardiovascular mortality risk compared to non-smokers. In fact, researchers calculated that smoking actively advances the risk of dying from cardiovascular disease by roughly 5.5 years. Furthermore, landmark research from the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health followed nearly 10,000 individuals and discovered that smokers developed heart failure at twice the exact rate of those who never smoked. The message from every major health organization in the United States is absolutely unequivocal. Quitting is the single most powerful step you can take to protect your aging heart. But we also deeply understand the profound psychological and physical grip of nicotine. If you are currently struggling to quit, the most crucial interim step you can take starting tomorrow morning is to simply delay that first cigarette. Protect your heart by pushing that first smoke completely out of the peak morning cardiovascular danger zone. Let your body fully wake up. Take that warm, relaxing shower. Get properly hydrated, and allow your natural morning blood pressure spike to settle down first. You can always talk to your doctor about evidence-based programs that can support your journey when you are truly ready. If you or someone you love has successfully pushed back their morning routine or managed to quit entirely, I want you to share your strategy in the comments right now. How did you break that intense morning association? Your personal story could be the exact inspiration another viewer needs to read today to save their own life. As we move forward on our list, our next habit involves something that most people actually believe is the absolute healthiest part of their morning. Yet doing it wrong could trigger a sudden cardiac event. As we continue our countdown, the next habit on our list involves something that almost everyone considers to be the absolute healthiest part of their morning routine. Coming in at number 4 is jumping straight into intense physical activity without proper preparation. This one often feels deeply counterintuitive, because for decades you have been told that exercise is one of the best things you can possibly do for your cardiovascular system. And that is absolutely true. Regular physical activity substantially reduces your long-term risk of heart disease. However, the exact way you choose to exercise in those early morning hours, particularly if you are over 60, matters enormously. Many older adults wake up full of determination, throw on their sneakers, and immediately launch into heavy exertion, thinking they are doing their aging heart a massive favor. But the medical data reveals a hidden danger in this abrupt transition. A scientific statement published in the American Heart Association journal Circulation acknowledged a crucial medical reality. While habitual physical activity reduces overall coronary events, vigorous activity can actually cause an acute and transient increase in the risk of sudden cardiac death in susceptible persons. The absolute keyword here is susceptible. And adults over 60 with any degree of underlying cardiovascular disease fall squarely into this vulnerable category. The National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute states directly that older adults with coronary heart disease are significantly more likely to experience a heart attack when they are exercising vigorously compared to when they are resting. This happens because your cardiovascular system is in its most fragile state during the morning hours. Your blood pressure is rising sharply from sleep, your stress hormones are peaking, and your blood viscosity is at its absolute highest. Launching straight into strenuous activity without allowing your body to gradually adjust amplifies every single one of these risk factors simultaneously. Researchers studying circadian patterns have noted that patients exhibit more cardiac ischemia, which means dangerously reduced blood flow to the heart muscle during morning exercise compared to doing that exact same exercise later in the day. This compounding effect is especially severe with activities that place sudden extreme demands on the heart, such as heavy yard work, high-intensity interval training, or shoveling snow in cold weather. Speaking of temperature and morning routines, this is exactly where proper habits, like taking a correct morning shower, play a vital educational role in heart attack prevention for older adults. Many people do not realize that stepping into a freezing cold shower to abruptly wake up, or conversely, taking a scalding hot shower immediately after heavy morning exertion, forces aging blood vessels to rapidly constrict or dilate. The safest approach for an older heart is a lukewarm morning shower to gently encourage blood circulation. But you must remember that even a proper shower does not replace the physical warm-up your heart desperately needs before exercise. The American Heart Association has specifically warned that vigorous exercise in cold conditions has been repeatedly associated with acute cardiovascular events. Going straight from lying completely still in bed to intense exercise without building up your heart rate gradually is highly dangerous. The baseline risk of a heart attack is significantly higher in people who are habitually inactive, making that sudden burst of morning energy a massive shock to the system. Cardiologists strongly recommend that adults over 60 begin any morning physical activity with a mandatory gentle warm-up period of at least 10 to 15 minutes. You need to start with very light walking around the house or gentle stretching to allow your heart rate to rise slowly and safely. Stay hydrated throughout the process and pay close attention to any warning signs. If you ever experience unusual chest pressure, sudden shortness of breath, dizziness, or heart palpitations, you must stop immediately and seek medical attention. In fact, for many older adults, simply shifting that vigorous workout to the late afternoon or early evening may actually be a safer time for your cardiovascular system. I would love to hear from you right now. Lee, what is your favorite gentle way to warm up your body in the morning before you start your active day? Share your routine in the comments below, as your safe morning habits could really inspire another viewer to take better care of their aging heart. As we move closer to the number 1 most dangerous morning habit, our next stop at number 3 involves a very common food-related choice that has some of the strongest research evidence, connecting it directly to fatal heart attacks. Following right on the heels of our discussion about physical exertion, our next food-related habit has some of the strongest research evidence connecting it directly to fatal heart attacks. Coming in at number 3 on our countdown is a deeply ingrained routine that millions of adults over 60 actually believe is helping them stay healthy. We are talking about skipping your morning meal. Many older adults skip breakfast entirely or delay eating until well into the afternoon. Some do it intentionally for weight management, while others simply lack a strong appetite during those early morning hours. Whatever the underlying reason might be, the medical research linking this specific habit to severe cardiovascular risk is remarkably consistent and spans decades of intense investigation. Think about the proper morning shower routine we discussed earlier to prevent cardiovascular events. Just as stepping into a lukewarm shower is the scientifically proven way to gently dilate your aging blood vessels and safely wake up your circulatory system without shocking your heart, your metabolic system requires a very similar, gentle awakening. When you completely skip breakfast, you are essentially forcing your body to remain in a prolonged fasting state. During this time, your body is under biological stress. Consequently, this extended fasting period can lead to increased insulin resistance, causes your blood pressure to remain abnormally elevated throughout the morning, and can even trigger your cholesterol levels to rise. You are making your heart work incredibly hard on an entirely empty tank, depriving it of the essential nutrients it needs, exactly when cardiovascular stress is peaking. The scientific data backing this up is incredibly profound. A landmark study conducted by researchers at the Harvard School of Public Health followed nearly 27,000 men between the ages of 45 and 82 for 16 consecutive years. The researchers uncovered a terrifying reality. Those who regularly skipped their morning meal had a 27% higher risk of experiencing a heart attack or dying from coronary heart disease compared to those who ate a proper breakfast. This massive study, published in the American Heart Association journal Circulation, proved that this risk persisted even after accounting for other factors like diet quality, smoking, and physical activity. Furthermore, when your body is starved all morning, it naturally compensates by overproducing hunger hormones, practically guaranteeing that you will overeat later in the day and put massive, sudden strain on your metabolic system. For adults over 60, whose metabolic processes naturally become much less efficient with age, these negative physiological effects are drastically amplified. Your aging heart simply cannot handle wild fluctuations in blood sugar and insulin resistance the way it could decades ago. But the solution to this dangerous morning metabolic stress is actually quite simple and entirely within your control. You do not need to force down a massive, heavy meal if you do not have the appetite. The cardiovascular goal is simply to eat a nicely balanced meal within 2 to 3 hours of waking up. Focus on simple whole grains, a bit of lean protein, or some fresh fruit. Even a very small, nutritious meal is significantly better at protecting your vulnerable morning heart than eating nothing at all. I am very curious about your current morning habits. Do you usually eat a light breakfast right after that safe, warm morning shower? Or are you someone who naturally waits until noon to eat? Let me know your exact routine in the comments section below, because your daily choices might be exactly what another viewer needs to read today, to reconsider their own habits and protect their aging heart. As we move closer to the absolute most dangerous habit at number 1, we must first confront a hidden morning trigger that immediately floods your aging heart with toxic chemicals. Before you even get out of bed, we are now approaching the top 2 habits that carry the most significant evidence for severe cardiovascular risk. At number 2, we find a deeply ingrained habit that millions of adults over 60 experience every single morning, without ever recognizing its silent and deadly impact on their aging heart. This incredibly dangerous routine involves waking up and immediately plunging your mind into a state of intense emotional stress. Think back for a moment to the highly critical morning shower routine we discussed earlier. We clearly established that stepping into a safely tempered lukewarm shower is the scientifically backed method to gently encourage blood flow and protect your aging heart from the dangerous physical shock of extreme temperatures. Now, I want you to imagine applying that exact same protective concept to your brain and your entire nervous system. Just as a freezing cold shower violently shocks your physical blood vessels, and forces them to clamp down. Waking up and immediately checking alarming news headlines on your smartphone, worrying about daily finances, or engaging in a stressful family argument delivers a violent and invisible shock directly to your cardiovascular system. Every single human being experiences a biological phenomenon called the cortisol awakening response. This means that during the early morning hours, your body naturally releases a massive surge of a primary stress chemical called cortisol, simply to help you wake up and become alert. This natural biological process already elevates your morning blood pressure and makes your blood significantly thicker. But when you actively layer intense artificial emotional stress on top of this natural morning surge, you create a perfectly lethal physiological storm inside your chest. The Mayo Clinic explains very clearly that this exact type of sudden emotional stress forces your body to release even more stress chemicals into your bloodstream. This combined effect significantly elevates your resting heart rate, promotes rapid vascular inflammation, and actually makes your blood dangerously prone to forming fatal clots. Large-scale clinical analysis reveals absolutely terrifying numbers for older adults who ignore this warning. Individuals who experience the highest levels of these specific stress hormones demonstrate a staggering 63% increased risk of developing severe cardiovascular disease. Breaking the clinical data down even further, elevated cortisol alone is directly associated with a 60% increase in total cardiovascular risk. For adults over 60, this connection is not just a gentle warning, it is a critical medical emergency. The American Heart Association has definitively linked sudden emotional morning stress to a drastically increased risk of atrial fibrillation. This is a highly dangerous irregular heart rhythm that affects millions of older adults and substantially raises the immediate risk of experiencing a life-threatening stroke. Furthermore, medical researchers at Harvard Medical School have extensively documented a very real and terrifying condition known as stress cardiomyopathy, which is often referred to locally as broken heart syndrome. This severe cardiac event occurs predominantly in older women with an average age of 67, occurring precisely when a sudden emotional shock temporarily but violently disrupts the normal pumping function of the heart muscle. Your aging heart simply cannot process abrupt emotional trauma the way it easily did when you were in your 20s. The most powerful protection you can offer your cardiovascular system is creating a mandatory stress buffer zone the exact moment you open your eyes. Please remember that this specific content is provided strictly for educational purposes and should never replace professional medical advice from your personal doctor. However, cardiologists universally recommend protecting this highly vulnerable early morning window to save your life. Do not reach for your mobile phone immediately. Leave the television news turned off. Instead, spend your very first 5 to 10 minutes practicing calm and deep breathing, or perhaps writing in a simple bedside gratitude journal. You should then follow this peaceful routine up with that perfectly safe lukewarm morning shower we talked about earlier, to gently and safely awaken your physical circulation. These incredibly simple and completely free actions drastically moderate your natural cortisol response and significantly reduce the heavy burden on your heart during your most critical hours. I want you to be totally honest with me right now. What is the very first thing you usually think about or look at the moment you wake up in your own bed? Share your honest morning thoughts in the comments section below. Acknowledging your current routine is the very first step toward building a healthier and stress-free morning that truly protects your aging arteries. And now, we have finally arrived at the absolute number one most dangerous morning habit. This final revelation involves something so incredibly simple, yet the latest medical research shows it carries the absolute greatest hidden risk for your cardiovascular survival after 60. And now, we have finally arrived at the absolute number one most dangerous morning habit. This final revelation involves something so incredibly simple, yet the latest medical research shows it carries the absolute greatest hidden risk for your cardiovascular survival after 60. The number one position belongs to what may be the simplest, Yet most overlooked morning habit of all: failing to drink water the exact moment you open your eyes. This seemingly insignificant oversight has been connected to severe cardiovascular risk by research from some of the most respected medical institutions in the United States. And the science behind it is both compelling and incredibly urgent. Let us connect this back to the proper morning shower routine we have been discussing throughout this video. We established earlier that stepping into a safely tempered lukewarm shower is the scientifically backed method to gently dilate your aging blood vessels, promote healthy circulation, and protect your heart from the dangerous physical shock of extreme temperatures. But here is the critical missing piece of that morning puzzle. A perfectly safe, warm morning shower can only open up your blood vessels on the outside. It cannot change the actual fluid pumping through them on the inside. If you step into that bathroom deeply dehydrated, your heart is still struggling to push thick, sticky blood through your circulatory system. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep, your body has gone the longest stretch of the entire day without any fluid intake. During the night, you lose water through breathing, normal perspiration, and basic metabolic processes. The terrifying result is that your blood is at its absolute thickest and most viscous first thing in the morning. A landmark study published in the American Journal of Epidemiology followed over 20,000 men and women to observe exactly how this hydration factor impacts the heart. The researchers found something absolutely astonishing. Men who drank adequate water daily had a 54% lower risk of fatal coronary heart disease, compared to those who drank very little. For women, the risk reduction was a massive 41%. The reason morning dehydration is so deadly relates directly to how your blood behaves when it lacks adequate fluid volume. When you are dehydrated, your blood develops a higher concentration of red blood cells relative to the liquid plasma. It also shows elevated levels of a specific protein involved in clot formation. Together, these microscopic changes make your blood incredibly prone to forming the exact types of clots that block coronary arteries and trigger a sudden heart attack. Furthermore, severe morning dehydration physically impairs your blood vessels, meaning the inner lining of your arteries cannot relax and dilate properly. This restricts blood flow at precisely the time when your cardiovascular system is already under massive morning stress. For adults over 60, these dangerous effects are vastly magnified. As we age, our kidneys simply become less efficient at conserving water overnight. Even worse, our natural sensation of thirst diminishes significantly with age, meaning millions of older adults are chronically severely underhydrated without ever feeling thirsty. When you combine this age-related dehydration with the natural morning surge in blood pressure, peaking cortisol levels, and natural platelet stickiness, the risk equation becomes a true medical emergency. The ultimate solution could not possibly be simpler, and it works perfectly alongside your safe morning shower routine. You must keep a full glass of room temperature water on your bedside table every single night. The very first thing you do when you open your eyes, before you check your phone, before you get out of bed, and certainly before you step into that bathroom, is drink that entire glass of water. This single, completely free habit instantly helps restore your blood volume, drastically reduces blood viscosity, and actively supports healthy, smooth blood flow during the exact hours when your aging heart needs it the absolute most. I want to know right now, which of these 7 morning habits surprised you the most today, and which one are you going to commit to changing tomorrow morning? Share your thoughts in the comments below, because your personal commitment could be the exact inspiration another viewer needs to read to protect their own heart. Here is the bottom line, and the most valuable lesson every adult over 60 absolutely needs to hear today. The morning hours between 7 and 11 represent a highly critical danger window for your cardiovascular health. But the incredible news is that your risk is entirely within your power to change. Protecting your heart does not always require drastic life changes. It is about understanding how your aging body works and making simple, Evidence-based adjustments. Drink a full glass of water the moment you wake up. Protect your mind from immediate emotional stress. Eat a gently balanced breakfast. Properly warm up your body before any physical exertion. And always use a lukewarm morning shower to safely wake up your circulatory system. These small, daily choices build an invisible shield around your heart during its most vulnerable hours. This content is for educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional medical advice. So always consult your doctor before making changes to your health routine. Please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this vital information with someone you love. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next video.